Hi. This video is for thinker types, people who are highly analytical, rational, intelligent, spend a lot of time in your head, processing the world through logic, thinking things through. And that is my typical baseline state as well. And you might have seen in some of my other videos lately that I've been talking a lot about the value of feelings for thinker types. And I want to do more of that today, and specifically I want to talk about the preciousness of certain types of feelings and the fragility of them, and how that's a bit different from how you might be used to thinking about thoughts. Just understanding how some of the ways that you treat your thoughts might not work so well with really tender, deep feelings, and what to do instead. And that might seem a little esoteric or kind of hard to wrap your hands around, or maybe you're not really sure what kind of the benefit of that is. And I guess what I would say is that I have, in the 16 types, I'm an ENTP, a very strong thinker type, debater type. And so I've been on this very intentional journey for the past 7 years or so of really transforming my whole life, transforming how I see the world and myself, and it's brought me so many benefits. I just feel so much more alive. Life just feels so much juicier. My connections feel so much deeper and more authentic. I'm way more in my body, and it's just been completely life-changing. And some of the biggest changes in me have been getting out of my head and into my body, into my deeper feelings, and really understanding this emotional landscape. And to differentiate, if you are familiar with the kind of next level of the 16 types, the cognitive function level, what I'm talking about here with these deeper feelings is more like FI than FE. FE plays in a little as well, but real quick, FE is more, it's kind of external feeling, or extroverted feeling. So it's more about what are the group dynamics, what are the social norms, is everyone having fun, what do others need, whereas FI, introverted feeling, is more about what are my values, what am I feeling, what is important to me, what does my self-expression and identity need. And so when I talk about these kind of precious feelings, I'm referring more to these FI type feelings. So where I want to start is when it comes to these deep feelings, if you are a thinker type like me, then you just have a lot less practice managing and recognizing a lot of these feelings. This is really a skill that I had to very intentionally develop, like years of work, going to all sorts of workshops and retreats and meditation and so on. So if you're anything like I was years ago, you might be frustrated by how little you feel. It might just feel kind of numb a lot of the time, or you might feel kind of jaded, nihilistic, depressed. You might have trouble empathizing with other people, and or maybe not. Maybe you're just really analytical and you kind of feel like that's okay, and you don't really feel like you're missing out on anything. But maybe I'll just give you a sense. I wrote down this little list of some of the types of feelings that I'm talking about, so that you kind of have a reference for what I'm saying here. So these are really kind of intricate. I don't know how to describe them. They're nuanced feelings. They're complex feelings. I'm not just talking about happy or sad here. So I wrote down things like a sense of awe, childlike wonder, feeling moved by someone or something, feeling deeply grateful, jubilant, optimistic, a sense of deep belonging, feeling radiant, adoring, compassionate, empathetic, serene. I hope you can imagine And even if you don't have a lot of experience feeling these types of things often, there probably have been times in your life, maybe when you were younger, maybe on really special days like a wedding or, whatever it is, a birth of a child, getting a pet, seeing a beautiful view, a sunset, who knows, whatever it is. If you're a thinker type, maybe it's even like a math proof or a scientific discovery or seeing pictures of the universe, right? There could be all sorts of things that trigger these really deep, profound feelings that really touch into, I think, our deepest parts of humanness. And so they're really worth feeling. I mean, for me, this is a big part of what life is really about, being able to access these types of feelings more regularly. And so what I want to talk about really in this video is how fragile those feelings can be and how much less robust they can be compared to the types of logical thoughts that you're used to dealing with. I think especially in our modern dominant culture today, where the thinking mind is so much more respected than the heart, we have this idea that thoughts, logic, can really be kind of pressure tested. Right? That if you have strong logical arguments, they should be able to withstand scrutiny. They should be able to withstand being attacked. Right? That if logic is really on your side, then any kind of arguments thrown at you, you should theoretically be able to defeat. Right? You should just be able to deflect them and say, yeah, but here's why that's wrong, here's why that's wrong, here's why that's wrong, counterpoint, resting in the truth and security of pure logic and rationality, right? That's kind of the dream for us thinker types, to kind of find logic that is so beautifully constructed that it can't be defeated, it can't be argued with, right? And a lot of feelings just aren't like that. They don't stand up to scrutiny and to being attacked and to being pressure tested. They're kind of, they're more like, crystalline or like beautiful jewelry that's so intricate, and you could examine it from all these sides and really appreciate all the little details. But if you don't handle it properly and you drop it, then it shatters, right? And that doesn't mean that these kinds of feelings are less valuable than thoughts. They're just a different creature, a different type of thing. And so I'm also not saying that feelings should, that all feelings are kind of flimsy, or that there's no value in kind of stress testing them. I'm a practicing Zen Buddhist, and a lot of Zen is about being with reality as it is. When feelings come up, even if they're really hard feelings, anger, loneliness, fear, sadness, whatever, just being with it. And that's a lot of the practice of meditation and mindfulness, is just recognizing like, okay, wow, I am so lonely right now. I'm feeling so much grief right now. Interesting. And I'm going to stay right here. I'm going to stay with it. And so I am a big believer in the value of that, in the value of building that resilience to be able to kind of not just push away feelings, not just repress them, but to really fully be in them and explore them. But some feelings are just so fragile and precious that they require careful care. And this is really kind of the message that I want to leave you with today, or impart to you today, as someone who's done years and years of work in developing this tool set in myself and getting me out of my head where I used to spend all my time and into my body and into my heart. And my message here is that it's these feelings need careful tending. And so what I want to encourage you to do is to practice noticing even the barest essence of when these feelings appear. You know, something like awe or compassion or gratitude or jubilation, right? Optimism. Because I think we thinking types can often really fall into this place of jadedness or numbness. And even if we are, you know, really enjoying intellection, really enjoying a debate, it's often, in my experience at least, that feeling of being in the debate is more of kind of a singular, I don't want to say simplistic, but it's you know, the type of feeling there might be one of more just kind of exhilaration or excitement, like, wow, this is happening, we're debating back and forth, you know, it's like a fencing match, and it's almost like there's no room to feel the fencing because you're just so busy parrying and deflecting, and so I think that's what a lot of intellectualism can feel like. The experience of it can be so heady. It can be so about defeating the other person, proving them wrong, saying something smart, proving your knowledge, you know, all those things. And so there is less room for just sinking down, slowing down, and really just feeling, wow, what is the fullness of experience here? What are all the different feelings that I'm feeling right now? And especially when some of these feelings are so tender and fleeting and fragile, I think that they really need such careful shepherding to make sure that you're able to preserve them and fully be with them and fully feel them. You know, I kind of imagine sometimes it's like you've got your eyes closed and where it's dark and there's kind of this tiny little flickering flame off on the side, and it's so easy to miss. You know, everywhere else is thoughts. And then there's this little flame. And if you can pay attention to it, if you can isolate it, say, wow, yeah, there's a little flame. And you can kind of welcome it and feed it with some oxygen. Then it'll grow. And then you can feel even more of that and even more of that. And it can just kind of fill your whole body. Wow, this is joy. This is optimism. This is intense gratitude, right? But that flame won't grow unless it's so carefully tended. And so I think in our world today that's so fast-paced, it really requires careful, conscious effort to build this skill to be able to feel more, to be able to experience this intensity of aliveness. And of course, there's a lot of intensity and aliveness in debate and intellection as well. But speaking as someone who has really been on both sides, who spent so much of my life in that intellectual place, and now has spent the last several years in this deep FI feeling place, I can tell you that there's such a type of richness in this feeling place that I had never experienced in that intellectual place. And so I really have this deep wish for you to be able to experience it as well. So that's why I'm emphasizing this for you. And I want to give you an actual example from my life that kind of inspired this video, because you might have seen I've been having this kind of little video debate with Brandon, another ENTP. I released one video about this kind of this revelation I've been having about how when having a conversation or an argument with someone, that it's actually a sign of maturity for me, a sign of growth for me to feel more, for me to feel sometimes triggered or, kind of negative emotions like tension in my body, and being able to notice that. Instead of just being kind of a debate robot, just being purely in my head, kind of with those intellectual arguments, but actually feeling like, oh, wow, something this person said has hurt me. Like this is causing me some powerful feelings right now. Like I think that's actually something to be celebrated, even if it's very uncomfortable. And so we've had some back and forth on that. And most recently, Brandon left me a long reply video that I haven't watched yet. And I don't know what the content is going to be, but my guess is, based on what I've seen in his previous response video, he was approaching it from a very analytical, intellectual perspective when he was kind of countering some of the points that I made or offering his perspective on some of those points. And, of course, he's a fellow ENTP, and, he was bringing up scientific studies and research papers and, facts about psychology and how the brain works and all that. And certainly I love that stuff. I really admire all that. I really appreciate objectivity and logic and science. And but I also feel like that when I'm in a kind of precious feeling space, exposing myself to that kind of stimulus, that kind of very heady, intellectual, debatey, citing papers, all that kind of stuff is one of the things that I'm talking about that can upset this fragility. And, that might sound from a thinking perspective kind of like weak, but I prefer to think of it as precious. It's like a baby or a small animal is not weak. I mean, yeah, it's physically weak, like it can't survive on its own, or if you don't take good care of it, then it might get hurt or die. But I think of that more as precious, right? And it's kind of like you need to just like cup it in your hands and kind of protect it from the strong wind. And that's what I see for these feelings. And I happen to have been in this state for the past several days. Just different things in my life, my relationship, and went to a really sweet community singing event a few nights ago. And I've been in these spaces that feel sacred. And I know that's a dirty word to a lot of thinker types. It evokes religion. And for me, these were not at all religious spaces. I use the word sacred to just evoke this feeling of awe and wonder and just zooming out and feeling this kind of existential, like, wow, I'm connected to so much more. The universe is so much vaster than we typically think of. And so feeling in that place of being in contact with the sacred, being in contact with wonder and awe, it just feels so precious that I've been just kind of very delicately surfing these waves of not wanting to upset them so much because it's so juicy to be here. And yeah, it's so tricky because if I said some of this stuff I know to Michael of 7 or 8 years ago, who was such a typical stereotypical ENTP thinker type, he would have scoffed and just said, like, what are you even talking about? This is just woo-woo silliness. But I can tell you on the other side of that now that, yeah, through these experiences, I've just been able to reach these places. Like a couple days ago, I was just sitting there, just feeling with such intensity, like, wow, it is so precious to be alive. Like, my God, how lucky we are. How lucky I am to get to be a conscious being for this short amount of time on Earth. I just get to be aware with my senses and this amazing brain and these thoughts. And wow, it could all disappear at any moment. I could die at any time. Like, wow. And I know how, if you're not in a similar state to where I am, I know that's going to kind of fall flat, right? And I think that is really the potency of hanging on and cultivating and doing the work of trying to preserve these feelings and tend to them and nourish them so that we can get in these types of states more often and really just feel like, wow, such gratitude, such optimism, such love, such compassion. Wow, humans are suffering. And that hits me like, oh, that is not right that humans are suffering. You know, I think these are just a set of emotions and mind states that are just so crucial for me to keep cultivating. And so my point with this video thing with Brandon is that I have intentionally held off on watching his video. And, you know, a big part of me is very curious and really wants to watch it. Another part of me feels bad keeping him waiting. And yet, it feels so much more important to me to stay in this place for as long as I can of just, wow, the preciousness. And so I know that if I'm not very careful, then that will be disrupted. And it's bound to be disrupted at some point because this is inherently fragile. And it's going to fall apart, and then I'm going to find it again in the future, and it's going to fall apart again, and I'm going to find it again. And, you know, that's the human experience. But now, while it's here for now, I don't want to lose it. I want to really treat it as precious. And so I'm purposefully being very careful about the types of stimulus I expose myself to. And so I really encourage you to do the same. When you feel that flicker of flame, like, oh, wow, there's an emotion here. There's the barest hint of an emotion. How can I nurture this? How can I turn off my notifications for a while, not check my email, not check the news, not check Reddit, not do intellectual things, but just go for a walk with nowhere in mind and just look around me, just feel, just listen to music with my eyes closed, just journal, create art, dance, sing, you know, whatever it is, something that is not in the head, something that is not intellectual. That's how you nurture this little flame to grow. And when you do feel it having grown, when you feel it, when you feel that warmth of it, be very careful about what you expose yourself to. And just imagine yourself cupping it nice and close. And be especially careful of people too. You know, there's some people that just you know, are just dealing with things in their life, that their life experience or their trauma or whatever it is that just causes them to be really negative or jaded. And I think that, you know, jadedness is such a poison for these kinds of feelings. You know, that feeling of someone saying like, what's special about that? Just a feeling. Meh, whatever, you know? What's special about space? It's just some, like, balls of gas and rocks, right? It's like, you know, if you have that kind of attitude, you can just suck the life out of anything. So I really encourage you to take care of yourself and just put yourself in situations that are nourishing, that are more likely to kind of water those plants rather than drain the life from them. All right, I'm going to leave it there for today. Thanks for watching, and I'd love to hear if this resonates with you, if it feels confusing, and what you've found is effective for you to kind of water those plants, nourish those plants of feelings inside you. And I hope you have a wonderful day.